Hey folks, Chris here, and today I'm talking about a whiskey that takes you outside. Have you ever sipped a whiskey and feel like you've just trekked through the Canadian outdoors? And I don't mean the curated trails, but like the real untamed expanse, where the air is crisp and every element leaves its mark. Well, that, to me, is the Bareface Wilderness Series' third release. Recently, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Blake from Bareface, and he didn't just pour me a glass of whiskey, he deconstructed the entire blend. We sat there, 4 glasses in front of us, each a component one by one, revealing the whiskeys that combine to build this unique expression. And most importantly for me, the stories behind them. We, of course, started with their staple, which is Hungarian oak. But in this case, these casks were aged in repurposed shipping containers stored up north here in Canada, where the temperature swings are extreme. This elemental aging, for the lack of a better term, forces the whiskey to interact intensely with the wood, developing deep flavors. I've talked about this with places like Black Fox, who age their casks outside in Saskatchewan, exposed to temperatures like minus 40 to plus 40 degrees Celsius. I was taking notes, and this first whiskey, the Hungarian oak, had a nice sort of honeycomb with like a campfire spice. But next, and this was a first for me, birch charred casks. These were actually ex-Viognier barrels, I think from the Okanagan here in British Columbia, lined with naturally shed birch bark, which they foraged and charred. The whiskey was also previously aged in ex-Pinot Noir barrels for 5 years before the finish. This whiskey on its own, truthfully for me, was a little intense. It had some nice tobacco, a little bit of leather, this earthiness, and a surprisingly fresh green wood. But probably not something I would drink on its own. Okay, but the next one, Maple Brulee casks. I would buy a full bottle of this one just on its own. This was ex-bourbon matured whiskey, finished in barrels, proofed with fresh maple sap, also known as maple water. They then quickly charred, caramelizing the sugars like a creme brulee crust. Later, when speaking with their blender, Andreas, is when the full story came out. The challenge: the sap had to be used within 24 hours of tapping from the tree, and the maple farms were 17 hours away from the charring site. So not an easy feat to coordinate all the movement, the prep, and the work within a single 24-hour window. But it sounded like Andreas was in his element with that kind of plan. A little blast from his past, which I'll tell you more about after I give this a taste. But back to the whiskey. The Maple Brulee whiskey, for me, this was marshmallows by the fire, burnt cinnamon, sugar cane, and this really nice earthy maple, sweet but complex and delicious. Some said it was too much. I loved it. Altogether, these 3 make up the Bareface Wilderness Wild Air release number 3. So let's dive in and remind myself what this is like. I guess I put the bottle down too soon. We're looking at 42.5% here. Let's give it a pour. Color-wise, it's got this really nice light tan gold to it. The nose is light and fresh, a little sharp, but I get these orchard fruits and like fresh cut grass. It's got a fair bit going on. Again, a little bit sharp, a little oily, but not waxy. So I'm getting something green and fresh, just like the nose, fresh cut grass. But there's this nice subtle floral note. I feel like I can taste the Viognier barrels almost, with bright peaches and pears. A bit of orange blossom, and maybe something like coconut and vanilla. But there's also this interesting sort of dry minerality to it. It reminds me like of wet stones, while at the same time, somehow it's both sweet and syrupy, like a little bit of that maple syrup and vanilla cream. It finishes with a faint smoke, interesting leatheriness. It's long, and I like it. So altogether, this has a minerality with smoked leather, fresh wood, and a botanical freshness. It's nice. I think it could just be my memory of the first Wilderness series release, but I think I would pair this with something earthy and umami rich, like a wild mushroom risotto or some charred eggplant and like a portobello mushroom burger made on a charcoal grill. If you maybe want something lighter and to play off the minerality and the botanicals, maybe like a grilled octopus or seared scallops with a bit of rosemary. Whatever the case, really nice. Wrapping it up here, inspired by high elevations and mountain air, this whiskey aims not just to be a drink, but they want you to feel it as an experience. The Bareface Wilderness Series third release, I think, is a really fun experiment of innovation and passion that aims to showcase the Canadian North. If you see this on the shelf, don't walk, hike for it. These don't last long on the shelves, and they are limited release expressions. At only $60 a bottle where I am, this to me is definitely worth picking up. But before I forget, let me talk about the mastermind behind this, Andreas Faustinelli. Sorry if I said that wrong, but he started in economics, not whiskey. But a chance encounter with Canadian malted barley in, I believe it was Venezuela, sparked a passion in him for whiskey. From helping to import grain to eventually helping one of the big five move excess casks, he was working with independent bottlers and blenders, and his journey eventually led him to Napa. From there, he found his way to Canada, crafting the Canadian Bareface whiskey. Andreas, if you are watching this, thank you for your time. I can't wait to see what you do next. And for everyone else, thanks for watching. Share this with someone you think might find it interesting, and I'll see you soon.